This is a video tutorial on how to outline your informative essays. Before we look at that though, I want to briefly talk about why outline to begin with. Because for a lot of students, outlining just seems like an additional step and extra work. However, outlining actually makes the writing part a lot easier and saves you a lot of time. So it's kind of like an extra step that you take to make the end work a lot easier to do. And let me briefly explain why that's the case. When you sit down to write, a lot of times it's hard to know where to begin. And you're just staring at this blank sheet of paper and you're not knowing where you're going, and it's frustrating. Writing can be really frustrating. Well, outlining kind of takes that away, and it gives you a place to start, you know where you're going, and it just makes it a lot easier to do because you already have most of the thinking work done and processed. So when you get to your paper, you're just focusing on the writing part and not the thinking part about what you're doing. So for this tutorial, I'm going to use a prompt that's different than the one that you're working on to model for you how you would outline. And the prompt is this. It's right here. According to these texts, what effect did the Great Depression have on people who lived through it? Be sure to use evidence from the text to support and develop your thinking. So we're next going to go over here to my informative essay outline, and this is what it looks like. And I just want to briefly explain, what is this map doing? First of all, it has a place for your thesis statement, and that's going to go into your introduction. And then these little lines kind of just show that all of these ideas are connected. These boxes right here use the Toulmin method, and they are your body paragraphs. So they're connected to your introduction and your topic statement or your thesis statement, but they become their own paragraphs. And you're going to start with your claims, and then you're going to go to your supporting information, which in this case it's kind of like your evidence in your Toulmin method. I didn't include your explanation on your outline because your outline is basically a really short summary of what you're going to write. And once you know these things, it becomes a lot easier to write your explanation. You don't need to include that on your outline. So the first thing that I'm going to do is try to figure out what is my essay about and what am I writing on. So I included kind of two parts here. One, during the Great Depression, millions of people lost their jobs. I'm defining what happened during the Great Depression. And then I'm also kind of answering the prompt more specifically. What effects did it have? Well, everybody learned the importance of being resourceful, keeping hope, being more unified and patriotic. Okay? So that's really what I'm focusing my essay on, and that's what I'm going to include in my introduction to make it really clear about what I'm writing. The next thing I'm going to do is write my claims, and this is where I kind of break down that topic into three parts. What are three effects that the Great Depression had? So after reading my sources, I'm kind of figuring out, okay, it made people resourceful. It also created patriotism and unity as a country. It also provided a sense of hope to the people. So those are the three things that I want to talk about, the effects that the Great Depression had on people. And you don't have to have complete sentences in your outline. You are just putting your thoughts together so when it's time to write, you can do that quickly. And then I'm going to, over here for my supporting information, I'm going to put short quotes from my articles that I read that provide details that support this idea. How did the Great Depression make people resourceful? Well, they cut back on everything possible. They took care of what they had. They taught people to not be wasteful. And these are details that I found in my articles as I was reading that related to this idea here that's really going to support my claim that this is what the Great Depression did. And I do the same thing for each of my claims. I'm going to include the evidence I found in my reading here. I also wanted to note the rubric says that this needs to be well supported. So in this case, you need at least two details. I gave you room for three because that's going to be helpful to even further develop your claims that you're making, but you need to have at least two. If you don't have three pieces of evidence for each, then that's fine. Just make sure you include at least two, but it doesn't really hurt to have three in this case. So I hope that's helpful. As you're outlining, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to come up with your topic statement or thesis statement, three claims to support that, and then you're going to go back to your articles, you're going to go back to your research sheet and come up with details from the text to help support that. So I hope that's helpful to you.